The Rock and Roll Coffee Show is brought to you by Writers and Rockers Coffee Company, keeping the music and memories alive with some damn good coffee. Be sure to pick up your Rock and Roll Coffee Show coffee only at writersandrockerscoffee.com. And also brought to you by Retroactive, located at Broadway at the Beach in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, keeping you retro with everything from 70s, 80s, and 90s. ShopRetroactive.com.
It's the Rock and Roll Coffee Show, yeah, with Joe.
You remember being on the show a long time ago?
Yeah, I was thinking about that today. I can't remember when that was.
It was like 2 years ago almost, I think. It was episode 34, I think. 34 or 35, something like that.
So 2021 or 2020?
2020.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's been a long time. And it was via phone. I wasn't doing a video back then.
Oh, fuck, that's right.
Yeah.
You know, when I think about what Joe looks like, now I know.
Now you know. We've talked on the phone, text all the time, and we've never been in the same room or spoke face to face like this.
I feel like I've seen like a thumbnail or some kind of,
that's so funny.
The recent project with, I'm like, which one's Adam? I mean, I kind of know. I'm an acquaintance of Adam's, and I've hugged Adam, but not more than once.
Yeah. Well, you had Adam on your show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of know what Adam looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're talking about the Villain Press project.
Correct.
People don't know what the heck we're talking about right now.
Correct. I barely know what that is either. It's so fresh.
Well, I barely know how to turn this recording on. So,
man, we're all on the same team.
We are professionals.
That's right.
But so you know what? So let's get right into some Dangerous Toys stuff, because I was listening to that episode that you were on before, and you named off a bunch of song titles. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I did.
I got them right here. I had to write them down because I couldn't remember.
Wow, because I want to know what they are.
They were Pretend It's Candy.
Okay, yeah.
Rise and Shine.
Yep.
Brass Knuckle.
Mm-hmm.
Hold Your Horses.
Mm-hmm.
Texas Sun. Hangman Boogie. Mm-hmm. And All Hat, No Cattle.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened with those songs? Are they been recorded or?
Nothing has happened with them.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Okay, that's not timeout. That's not exactly true. Hold Your Horses and Hangman Boogie, we play live.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's probably terrible YouTube footage of those.
Okay.
There is we've been since you wrote those, or since I mentioned those to you over the phone. Could have been 2 years ago now. Yeah. Those two songs are in the set. There are some tracks have been recorded for a handful of, obviously Hangman Boogie and Hold Your Horses have been worked up and recorded and rehearsed, and those are in the those have legs. They're running around. Those are our new children. Pretend It's Candy is kind of a done deal as well, but it's not. We have to leave room for Outlaw and Scared and Teasing and Woody and Queen.
Sure.
So it's kind of right. The other tunes, Texas Sun is really old. That's from like 1992.
Right. You said you were going to be reworking that one.
Yeah, and we did. We retracked guitars and vocals and drums, and there's some scratch bass, and you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's beyond demo. It's not a demo. I mean, you could say the original recording from 1992 was the demo, because we didn't really change anything. And it's a great song. It's just unreleased, and I'll speak for myself, I feel like we didn't really have a place for it when we wrote it, kind of thing. I feel like where we are now, and the fact that we just need more songs made us dust it off. But
Yeah.
it's a great tune. Mike
Mhm.
Watson wrote the words, and it was written on an acoustic guitar. It's not a country song, but it's got kind of a shuffle thing, and it has that. It's Southern.
Mhm.
We've always had that, that swagger thing. And so we wouldn't work if we didn't have that shuffle
Mhm.
groovy.
Mhm.
Even when we're kind of, playing the 135 BPM, just boom, boom, still there's a bit of like nasty going on.
Sure.
But the other songs are not getting much love right now, and I got to tell you, it's not to. I'm not crying. I don't care because I don't want to go back. I'm old. We're old.
I'm
We're
old
just
too.
moving slow. We don't. There's no deadline. We don't give a shit.
Right.
If someone was dangling a bag of money in front of us, things might be different, but it's not happening, and they might not be different. We may just go, well, I'm be dead pretty soon. I'm just gonna spend this money.
Right. Right. You guys are pretty. You guys are
Anyway,
pretty happy where everyone's at in the band, right? Everybody's got other things going on.
yeah, I mean, Scott builds guitars and Paul plays all the time,
Yeah,
and he
he's a busy guy.
teaches, and I'm teaching, and I had a really banner year this
You
year.
did, and we're gonna get into that.
Okay, but like take out the things that would make me say I had a really banner year in 2022. I'm still what I call busy enough.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I Wham Bam put out a second Cassius King record. Like it was like we put out the first one, and next thing you know, I'm getting new material from Dan Lorenzo to write the second record. So that like never stopped. That could have been a
Mm-hmm.
double album because it was just kept going. And so that happened, but yeah, I mean, I'm busy enough. I feel like there's songs, as you know, Joe, there's songs on the back burner waiting for me to finish them
Yeah.
that are not new.
Yeah.
So, but I can't get to them because there's just so much going on. Life
Yeah.
gets in the way. I'm a regular guy. I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
like I
Yeah. I
said,
mean, and it happens.
I work well under a deadline, under pressure. I work well, but I'm really stressed out,
Mm-hmm.
and I get stressed out because since it's not my only one thing. Like if one phone rings and says, "Hey, I've got 10 songs I need you to like write vocal melodies for, and I'll send you some lyrical help, but you need to write the lyrics too." And then there's another phone that says, "Hey, I gotta press stop on everything else so I can do that. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
can't stop one thing to get into the next.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wish."
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
the only time that I did do that was that stuff that you said, yeah, we're going to get into that because it was do or die. It was
right.
like I had to go right now
Right.
because
So
I
let,
was
let's
pulling someone out of a hole.
yeah, yeah. So um with Dangerous Toys, I didn't see any shows on your website, any new shows. I know you guys have played some the Monsters of the Mountain recently, right? Was that Dangerous
Yep,
Toys,
yeah,
right? That wasn't Dirty
yep,
Looks.
yep, yep.
Okay.
Yep. Dirty Looks played this year in Philly and in Selinsgrove, and the Toys played the Cruise, or I'm talking 22.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Toys played way back in February or whatever it was, and then on the cruise, and then a few months later we did the mountain in Gatlinburg,
Right.
and
Okay.
then yeah, we don't. There's nothing on the calendar right now, but there will be soon. We just got a booking in California. We hadn't played
Nice.
in California in I can't even.
Probably a
I
long
can't
time.
remember the last time. Probably,
Wow.
probably. Whoa. Uh, I'm gonna think of it in a second, dude. Uh, I might be wrong, but it could have been 91 at Irvine Meadows.
Really?
Yeah.
That long ago? Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
that's
long
how
time
long
ago.
ago. That's how long
Wow.
ago that was. No, that's not true. That's not true. We played some clubs in 94 right when Paul joined the band.
Hmm.
That's right.
Well, still,
Maybe
that's a long
maybe
time ago.
yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, yeah. So is this going to be one or a couple shows out there, or are you gonna do some shows on your way there or the way
We're
back?
doing it's a fly
Fly
in.
in. Okay.
Yeah, do the gig and run home. We'll probably do a warm up show in Austin before we get
Hmm.
on the plane.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Well, let's get into a little bit of your past year, 22. You filled in for Accept and Armored Saint just quickly, right? You got a phone call, and then how long was it with the Accept gig?
I did 4 shows. In a nutshell, I wouldn't call it old news because it kind of just happened,
Right.
but it also has been talked about quite a bit already.
Hmm.
But I'll fill you in on the dirty. Basically, I ended up on the phone with through channels. I ended up on the phone with Wolf Hoffman, and Mark, their singer, got an upper respiratory thing and was just shot and went to the doctor. We need you to on a plane tomorrow. So
That
uh
quick.
yeah, I got on a plane the next day. It was like a Tuesday at noon, and I I put together an Accept lyric book with a rough set list that Wolf gave me, and I started listening to the material, and I got on a plane in the morning and flew to Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Now, you were familiar with Accept, but how familiar were you with the set list, the songs in the set?
Well, it wouldn't have mattered if I would have said, "Please, Wolf Hoffman, my idol from 11th grade."
Right. I
It was
remember.
literally like that, pretty much
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that for the first 5 minutes. I fanboyed out, and I said, "Okay, I'll take this hat off, and now I'm a professional." Um, Udo, I was like, "Please, Udo songs, right?" Uh, and Udo hadn't been in the band in decades,
Right,
so why would that be? I mean, there's the obvious songs that
right.
whether they helped catapult the band to stardom or not, or the MTV songs are in the set. Balls
Hmm.
to the Wall, Metal Heart, Midnight Mover. Those
Hmm.
those are those are in there. When you think about pre MTV days, you got Restless and Wild and Fast as a Shark, and then my first Accept record that I got was Breaker, and then I went backwards, and then I went forwards, and it was the Balls to the Wall stuff after that, and but Breaker and Restless and Wild were a Bible to me.
So you were already familiar with those then?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with very many tunes on Metal Heart or like Russian Roulette.
Hmm.
Um but Breaker and Shark and Balls and Restless and Wild and Princess of the Dawn, and there was a bunch. So I would say 2/3 of the set I either pretty much knew it or phonetically knew it.
Hmm.
Like I could probably muster it and do a pretty good job, and I was right.
Hmm.
Um, there were the curveballs were the Mark songs, the new
The
era
newer
of,
stuff. Hmm.
yeah, and they have 5 fucking albums out with Mark, so that was weird uh to have to study this like brand new
Hmm.
brand new, and it was like 3 or 4 songs
Man.
that I was going cold, no rehearsal, and I'm in front of an audience going, okay, I've never sang this song before.
Man, that is
We
awesome.
sound checked. We did a sound check on the first day, and we started in on the sound check, and we just ended up playing the whole show. So it's like, I don't know, 17 or 18 songs. We did 90 minutes for a
For a sound check. Okay.
just so we could kind of feel each other out. I mean, I didn't know these guys.
You never met them?
No.
Wow.
The only OG is Wolf,
Mhm.
so, I had posters of him on my wall, but I don't know Wolf off.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a weird point. Now, you let me know when it's time to talk about Armored Saint,
Okay.
because that's slightly different of a
Yeah,
story.
because you knew Armored Saint prior to this, right?
Yeah, so that's a different game. I mean, once again, I don't go to their house and have dinner on the weekends. I don't go to church with them on Sundays because I'm in Texas, they're in Los Angeles. The point I'm getting at is I was such a fan of Armored Saint too, but they were one of those bands that I was introduced to personally when I saw them open for Metallica in February of '85
Mm-hmm.
on the Ride the Lightning tour, and it was Armored Saint's first tour. And ironically, that was with Wasp, but Wasp had canceled the Texas dates, and the Austin date was one of them. So there's a whole other backstory to Metallica looking for an opening band because James Hetfield called my mom's house. So that's
Called your
a
mom's
different
house.
story. Yeah, that's right. But that's a different story. So in Armored Saint, they let me in. That's how I like to use. Like I met Lemmy, he let me in. I've been on, everyone's been on Lemmy's bus, but hours I got to spend with the guy, right?
Sure.
And this was the thing with Armored Saint. It's like every time they came through, by my first name, I was welcome in their house. I got on stage with them and sang March of the Saint a ton of times, Madhouse a ton of times. When Bush was in Anthrax, he pulled me up for Only. You see what I'm trying to see what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
He would be like, he would sing a line and just throw the mic at me if I was in the audience.
Mm-hmm. If he saw you there,
I'm not kidding.
You were getting
I'm not
called
kidding.
out.
He would just hand me the mic and let go of it.
Yeah.
So
that was a lot easier situation to step in for then.
And half the material.
Okay.
Opening slot. Accept was a headline slot. All right, let me go back to Accept real quick, just to be clear for everybody. It's important to me to clarify that Mark had been, he got some shots and he was taking steroids and his meds, and he was feeling better by the time that I had gotten there and started in with him. And he had ultimately ended up having about 3 to 4 days off with some serious bed rest and TLC, because it all kind of went down close to Jersey, his home.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the second night, I started on a Wednesday. By Thursday morning, he said, I'm coming to the gig, and me and Wolf have comprised this awesome tag team set. So Mark was coming out and doing like 3 or 4, and then he would introduce me. Yeah, it's true, I've been sick and blah, 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 and who cares? And I got my buddy out here. He's coming out. Come on out, and he basically introduced me like as a bro.
Uh-huh.
And he would split and rest his pipes and warm up some more and whatever. And I would do a couple tunes, and then he would come out and we'd do one together, and then I would split for 3 or 4, and we did this, and we were doing a whole set. What I liked about it is all the Mark songs I didn't have to sing because Mark's there.
I was gonna say, yeah, I hope he sang his songs.
Well, of course he did. That was what was the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
The Armored Saint thing, John was out with us the whole time, and he was introducing the band, and he was introducing me. Like, the band would walk out. John would walk out first with his mic and do the deal, and feel all the love, and then hand the mic to me, and my bro, this is my buddy right here. He's gonna fill in and da 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 da. But I'm gonna be right here watching with y'all, da da da, da, which I thought was very special.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because that I rest assured that I was not going to get pelted with rocks and tomatoes.
And did the crowd accept you on both gigs?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
Maybe not so much with the accept thing. There was some kind of like weird people with weird looks on their faces. Like, I'm seeing the Dangerous Toys guy sing accept song.
This wasn't working for them.
Oh, well, maybe that was my imagination, because I told the Armored Saint camp as well as the Accept camp. It was because it was just like this weird reoccurring dream I was having. One was with Accept, one was Armored Saint. So I was saying the same thing. Look, I'm a big fan, and you guys know it. If I'm buying a ticket and I walk in and I could say Udo, but if the band is not the same band, if it's not Mark singing, I'm going to be upset.
Yeah.
If it's not John Bush up there singing Armored Saint songs, I'm going to be like, I want my money back. What?
Yeah, what is this?
But I had to see it from, I had to stand back. I can't be so close to it that I don't see what everybody possibly could see. I was just nervous about the hardcore fans.
Mm-hmm.
Because I understand the hardcore fan and what that's about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So after everything settled down from both gigs and you sit back and you're at home, I mean, how does that make you feel that they reached out to you?
Yeah, I think I was the quick knee-jerk reactive choice for Armored Saint, because I had just done it with Accept, and they know me, and it's like, oh, it's just Jason, he's a bro, just call him.
Mm-hmm.
There was a one name list as opposed to the Accept. They were freaking out. Like Armored Saint would have freaked out if I wouldn't have been available.
If you couldn't do it, yeah.
And Accept, I think, had like the crazy thing is, like, Ripper was on that list. I think Sebastian was on that list. I think that by the end of the day, by the time they had run out of their list, unavailable. I don't think they called Sebastian because it wasn't like here's our number one choice.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that at all. It was just like, shit, who's available?
Yeah.
And the people that they were thinking of were their friends who had connections and had spider web on speed dial.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that Wolf called immediately is a gentleman named Ed Aborn, who I have a lot of respect for now, and call him a friend now. Ed Aborn is in Florida, and he had a band in the 80s that played right alongside all of the early Floridian metal bands, mainly Nasty Savage and Savatage and stuff like that. And he had a band called Siren. He was the drummer. They're making new material now, but we're talking 1984, okay. 85, 86, mm-hmm. And he's an internet techie computer programmer guy that got into it way early on. And he developed the very first website for Accept.
Oh, okay.
Accept had a website before a lot of bands, whether we know it or not, because we were so late. I was super late.
They had a website before websites.
They had a website. They were wanting to get web presence and learn how to go digital, work with digital files and programming and things like that. Wolf mainly. Mm-hmm. Wolf and Ed became friends. And the story, it's not that weird that I'm telling Ed's story, because he's the reason that I got the Accept thing in the first place. Wolf calls Ed. Ed's like, okay, shit, that's terrible about Mark. Okay, I'll make some calls. So he's going, who can sing except? And I don't know Ed Aborn. Ed Aborn, we're not on each other's radar. He doesn't know who I am. He is friends with Chris Jericho, right? He calls Chris. They start going, okay, let's call Ripper. Ripper was in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
They're going, what about Bobby Blitz? Oh, and when I got on the phone with Ed, finally, I said Bobby Blitz. Dude, he's in New Jersey. He's right fucking there. He would be perfect. I can totally hear him singing, except,
Mm-hmm.
unavailable. There's two down right there. Ed calls, and for whatever reason, Chris Jericho couldn't do it. Maybe because he didn't feel comfortable because of it's a different style.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Chris Jericho can sing anything in my opinion, but he's more of a singer, and I can do that gnarly throaty thing, right? Okay, so Ed calls Todd Michael Hall. You know who that is?
I don't know who that is.
Singer for Riot.
Okay.
The singer for Riot. Riot 5 is what people call him. I just say Riot. And he's friends with the guys in Riot. He calls Todd, and Todd's unavailable. But Todd calls, hey, let me try to help. I want to help. So Todd calls the bass player for Riot, which is Don Van Stavern, which is a friend of mine in San Antonio, who played in San Antonio Slayer, who used to do shows all the time with my band Watchtower and Hellstar and blah, blah, blah. So I've known Don Van Stavern since time began. Yeah. And he knows that I can sing except. So Todd's calling Don, and Don's, hey, you know anybody that can sing except? And Mark's sick and he can't, da 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 da. Ping from the first person Don thought of. And Don's text was like, hey man, can you sing except? LOL.
Like, what's that?
Like, is this a trick question? Are we forming an accept tribute? I'm ready. I'm ready right now. Let's go.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, dude, they need someone. Mark's sick. And I'm like, oh shit. Really? And by that time he's going, call this guy. And it was Ed's number.
Nice.
So I called Ed, and next thing you know, I'm on the phone with Wolf, and that's how that kind of went down.
Nice.
So I figured it from the time that my phone rang on a Tuesday at noon, 19 hours later, I was on a plane. Early AM, I was on a plane.
Was there any hesitation on your part, or were you just all in right from it?
Yeah, because I was sick.
Oh, you were sick too?
Yeah,
everyone's sick.
I was getting over an upper respiratory infection.
Oh, I think I remember that. I think we've communicated about that.
I was coughing and clearing my throat, and with Ed on the phone, he's like, damn, are you sure you can do this? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm getting better. I'm getting over it. If you want to ask me how strongly I feel that I could deliver, yes, I could do it.
That's
but
fantastic.
I'm just letting you know, as you can, it's obvious, I'm getting over the crud, so.
Yeah.
Well, like, it's funny, I get out there and everyone in except on the bus, they're all coughing and hacking. They're all sick too. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yep.
Man. Well, I mean, you did a great job from what I heard.
Thanks.
on both projects.
Thanks. I did as good as I could do with no rehearsals and a notebook taped to the floor.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they had to be grateful, because nowadays, I mean, let's just say if they had to cancel 3 or 4 shows, that could really hurt a tour these days.
Bingo. So now you just brought up the golden shit, right? Because if you cancel one show in hopes that whoever is sick is just going to be able to climb back up, singer is different.
Yeah.
Like, I've done gigs where my guitar player had pneumonia and he played his ass off, crawled out of bed, put some leathers on, got a cab to this to the venue, played the show, back in the cab, back in bed, over 100 fever, blah,
Mhm.
blah.
Yeah.
Singer is different. You cancel, oh no, he's out. Dude can't even talk. He's screwed. He's got COVID, whatever it is, right? Um, you have to cancel a week or more. One guy gets sick and can't be around other. If it's COVID, luckily it wasn't COVID for either Bush or Tornillo. It was not
Sure.
COVID. It was this upper respiratory. There's a name for it. RSV, something like RS.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, the crew doesn't work. The crew has to go home. There's no sustenance. They can't just camp in a hotel room while whoever's down gets better. You're just purging money.
Mm-hmm.
For Armored Saint, they're the support act. That's even worse, I think.
They were support for Wasp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's put a Band-Aid on it or just quit, go home and lose everything. Momentum is what I was the Band-Aid for the momentum of the tour. Now what's great is that both of those guys, like Mark, they did one show in Toronto with no singer at all. The rhythm section just traded off singing a little bit. Yeah, it's on YouTube. They did one show with no singer. They canceled one, did one show with no singer. Then there was a day off, and that's when they were scrambling on the phone. We can't do this.
Yeah, this isn't working.
We need to fly someone out, right?
Man.
Then Mark came back, after that one headline date. Mark came back, and they devised the tag team method, which worked great. And Bush announcing us, and it was only 8 or 9, it was 10 songs on the Armored Saint thing because it's support. Really gave hope, and I saw it with my own eyes, and I actually got to warm up, vocalize a little bit with Bush, and that was really cool, just to talk about method, and because I love his voice. Mark is amazing as well. They're both they don't, those guys don't, you can't just, oh yeah, sing it like John Bush. Well, shit, that's tall order. Sing it like Mark Turlow. Yeah, can't do that. That's crazy, So I feel blessed that I have abilities that I can sing those songs, that style. The guys were amazing to me. They rolled out the red carpet for me. They totally took care of me. What I'm getting at is it was great that both of those guys were pretty much on the road and on the stage with me the whole time. The last night in New York with Armored Saint, Bush came out and sang the last 2 songs with me. So
Awesome.
that was really special.
Have you had any other phone calls since?
No, but there's a running joke with my friends right now. Aerosmith just canceled the
Right.
rest of their residency.
Right.
It's like the phone. Hold on a second.
I think you could pull that off.
Hold on. What? No.
I think you'd be great.
I had an Aerosmith tribute band called De Niro Smith, like Robert De Niro. And all we did was the first 4 albums, but we haven't done that in years. But it was super fun. So I already have a notebook made, ready.
You're ready.
For Aerosmith. Yeah, I'm ready.
Awesome. Now you have a lot of tribute bands, right?
Yeah,
or have done a lot.
People forget that. Sure, people forget that. It should be no secret, but people are really dogging down on cover bands and doing covers and da. And when I think about it, I go, well, the biggest bands in the world do cover songs.
Yeah.
All the time. So it's kind of interesting,
And most start out with covers.
Well, of course they do.
Yeah.
They forget, but this is when you talk about Metallica, um, their very first show, I think, was like opening for Saxon. Maybe their second show ever was opening for Saxon. And they played, I think they played Hit the Lights, and they may have played Mechanics, which is the Four Horsemen,
Mm-hmm.
the Dave Mustaine version. And the rest were Diamond Head covers.
Mm-hmm.
They may have done that Sweet Savage song, but they did all covers opening.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I don't think so either. And you got to start somewhere. And the thing is you can't forget who you are and where you came from.
Yeah. I love playing covers. I think it's fun. I have a great time.
I think it's a blast, and I think that it's really good for your soul. I think that people, like to sit behind their computer and overthink, when someone does a cover version of a popular song, and comments like, "Don't do that. Just stop. Don't do that anymore." I think that I understand where they're coming from. I really do. I get it. Like, my favorite band, whatever, insert favorite band, right? And then you hear someone do a cover of it, and you're like, you know what I mean? I know exactly where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it doesn't change the fact on what it does for me and my friends who went into a studio and worked on this and did an emotional rendition
Mm-hmm.
of a tune they love. And that's important to think about the nuts and bolts of it just as much as it's I think that it's a good idea to also think, I just don't want to say fuck you, I'm gonna cover
Yeah.
whatever I want. I feel like they should have a voice too, even though they're sitting behind their computer and they're not in a band and they won't even do covers.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, there's a lot of ways to look at it, I guess. But
Well, and then with all right, so you did the Accept and the Armored Saint thing, but what else did you do this year? We have our little thing going on, the Villain Press Project,
Mhm.
and then you have your Cassius King stuff.
Cassius King put out a new record called Dread the Dawn. It's gotten really good reviews. Some people were saying that it's what did you do different? And I tried to allude to the fact that we just kept writing. Like, the first record was recorded and it came out, and we didn't even stop. We just kept writing, and then all of a sudden there's a second record, like literally 8 or 9 months apart. There's these 2 Cassius King records. And people are saying about Dread the Dawn, they're going, what did you do different? This sounds amazing. Well, the truth is, we did not do anything different. Same microphones, same producer, same people, same style, same
Everything.
So it's kind of interesting how it just hit different, because I lean in and I sort of say, well, maybe it sounds more like a band. Maybe the songs are better put together, because you start writing and then you just keep on writing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by the end of that session of writing, 20 songs or whatever the hell it was that we wrote, it's probably going to be pretty good, or show some kind of progress as
Yeah, it
far
should come together a little bit more.
as a unit, as far as your
Mhm.
writing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of songs on Dread the Dawn that I was suggesting edits, because in the way that they write, it's Dan Lorenzo. He he writes to a click track, records all the parts in the studio to a click track pre-drummer, emails all those files to the drummer, and the drummer just goes crazy and goes and learns it all, finds out what he's gonna, writes his parts,
Mm-hmm.
goes into the same studio, guitar player is not even there, Dan's not even there, as far, in my mind, and he just puts on the headphones. It's the same tracks that he's been writing his drum parts to, and they turn the red light on and he records them, he packs up and goes home. So that's how
Yeah.
they write. So this is pre-Jason. So they're sending me this stuff, and I'm going, because I don't really like to start my lyrics until final drums, till the
You like the
drums.
drums in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because it helps me know where the swagger is,
Mm-hmm.
where that drummer's grooving, and what if he swings, what if he plays a different, you know what I mean? So if
Yeah.
I'm doing this totally different thing and he planned on swinging there, so one of us is going to have to redo their shit.
Mm-hmm.
He's either going to have to recut, punch in, or I'm going to have to change my whole melody or what. See what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to have the groove on there. So on Dread the Dawn, there were a couple songs that were like 8 fucking minute long songs. So some of the sections were a little pre-stacked, long, and it was a little long in places. And I was like, well, it does it 8 here. Let's do it 4 here, and this one does 4. Let's do it 8 here, and then let's move this bridge to after the second chorus. Let's have the first chorus be short. Da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't change the length of the song. It's the arrangement.
Arrangement. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Since we're not in a room together arranging this song while it's being written raw,
Yeah.
that was the only thing different about Dread the Dawn than Field Trip. The first record is called Field Trip.
Do you like writing on your own with your just by yourself in your room, or do you like being in the band environment in a room together with everyone when you're writing?
That's a great question, because there's not really one way to write a song. You know that, I know that. There's not one way to do it.
Right.
I think the main thing for me is I need the riff with some facsimile of what the drum groove is going to be, if it's not real drums already. If there's not drums on it, I've done this 100 times. I will take said rough song map, maybe it's just guitar with a click track, etc., maybe a bass, but no drums, just like, or a drum machine going boo, ka, boo, which is not, there's no feel there,
Yeah.
there's no groove, it's a robot. Might as well be a click track. And I will mic up my own drum kit and sit behind the drums and play what I feel I want to sing over behind their riffs.
Interesting.
And that is really, really helpful to me, because if I and I don't feel like I'm writing a drum part that I'm married to, but I'm basically going here, I'm on the drum kit going, here's how I'm going to sing this. You see what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And also some drummers don't necessarily what I call play the riff. You know, if if the riff's going, you know, I want the drums to go, and they'll just play time right through it.
Yeah, miss it.
And if that little riffy part, what if that's the hook?
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they don't, the drummer doesn't hear that that's the hook, and how would they know what the hook was going to be until, so there's not one way to do it, but I really I feel strongly about being there in some capacity to arrange, not necessarily rewrite a part with people, but yeah, rewrite a part or just add to something to create a hook that might almost be there or not be there at all.
Well, with simple arranging, that's a little easier these days than it used to be, where you could say, okay, let's move this here, and that can be all cut up and put together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like that's the norm. That's normal.
Yeah. Okay. So with all this other stuff going on, you still had time for your podcast, Talk Louder podcast.
Well, the interesting thing, and I was, if you weren't gonna, I'm glad you brought up the podcast. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, it started in the lockdowns, just like a lot of podcasts started in the lockdowns because people had to occupy themselves and talk to people this way. And now it's the norm, you know. People have decided to work from home now because they got used to this, and they can still, I don't know, babysit, feed the dog. They can be with their loved ones and still work from home. It's kind of a new world if you think about it. So
it's interesting though. They say people are more productive now though.
yeah,
So
yeah, I have something to add to that, but before I get into that, it's kind of like you know, it wasn't really that long ago that shameless plug here, shameless plug.
yeah, cheers with the
Yeah,
coffee.
cheers. Ching ching. Excuse me. So it wasn't that long ago that I didn't even know what a podcast was. Like I was talking to Danko Jones, and he said, I sometime I want you to be on my podcast. And I'm going, oh, okay, cool. And I didn't think about it again until somebody else said podcast. And I'm like, what the fuck is a podcast? Because I just don't know. I'm a fucking dinosaur. Yeah. And I've been on Danko Jones podcast, the Danko Jones podcast, 3 times now.
I think I heard you on there, and you got a patch or something.
I did. I was on there 3 times, and I was eligible for the patch, and I have the patch.
Yeah.
But I have to say it wasn't. It was probably close to around the same time that I was on your show that I was on his show the second time. And so, kind of befriending you and just totally getting along with you, among other folks too. The podcast community is actually really cool and chill.
It is, isn't it?
It's weird. Everyone's all chill and like helpful.
Yeah,
and
everybody's like together and helps.
I had this dude on my podcast, and I know you're a fan, and let me give you his number. I mean, that happens all the time, and I can't believe that.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's one of the things I love about it.
Yeah. So I feel like, the pandemic came, the lockdowns were there, and you and I had been in touch. And I feel like I was, for a moment, Joe, I felt like I was ripping you off.
Now.
Well, you sent me, I don't know, this cool thing to drink out of.
Yeah.
The Rock and Roll Coffee Show.
Yeah. You still have that?
I do.
Did you know now I have my own coffee?
Holy shit.
Yeah, with writers.
Hold on, I have to write this down.
Got to get your own coffee. You got to keep up with me, Jason.
Hey, Metal Dave. Yeah, we need to look into having Talk Louder coffee now. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
No, we got coffee
Writers
mugs.
and Rockers.
I love it. I want to check it out. Where can people buy that?
Writers and Rockers coffee.com, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah. If you search Writers and Rockers Coffee, or go to the Rock and Roll and Coffee Show website.
Oh, it's on your website. That's what I need to
be
do.
a link. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, is it any good?
It's great. It's my signature blend. Come on, Jason. I approved this.
I gotta try it. Well, yeah. So you had coffee mugs, so I had to have coffee mugs.
That's okay.
Thanks for letting me steal all your ideas.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, without getting mad. I don't have guitar picks yet.
You don't?
Don't have.
You can get those too.
Yeah. Okay. I have your permission for those.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll give you my contact if you need it.
Okay. Like I don't know where to get guitar picks. Yeah.
So anyway, so you started your Talk Louder podcast.
Yeah.
With now were you and Dave friends? Yeah,
David Glessner, my co-host on the Talk Louder podcast.com, is an old friend. He was just, coming to we had some mutual friends, and I'd be at someone's rehearsal, and he would show up, and hey, this is Dave. Hey, dude, how's it going? And that was over 20 years ago, 25 years ago, maybe
Yeah, a
longer.
long time ago.
Yeah. And, he would just be at all the shows, and, we just became friendly, and total rock nerd, whenever we talk about stuff, we became friends. And Jared, the guitar player, Broken Teeth, the whole podcast, it's his idea. He bought a new computer. He bought like an OS system. He was, he'd already done a bunch of videos and shit for like all of the videos that Broken Teeth has. He produced those
Okay.
storyboards. He's really good at it. And so we had like he's really good at, he's very linear, so he think things through and plan and writes, and he calls us both one day, and he goes, it might have been a text message, and I didn't think anything of it. He was like, hey, what do you, and, it's me and Dave, and he's like, what do you guys think about doing a podcast? And like I said, this was during the lockdowns, and I just answered, sure, sounds fun. I didn't have anything to, what's it going to be? It was just like, the idea ended up being sort of like, I imagine Jared's voice when I say this, but how when you and Dave are at a gig or at a party, and you guys are in the corner just totally nerding out on metal or rock music or Kiss or whatever, and you guys are nerding out. Well, the rest of the room either disappears because they hate you guys for nerding out, or they pay attention. They come in and they try to join the conversation, and it becomes this like beehive, this breathing, structure of nerd fest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And me and Dave were like, yeah, of course. He goes, that's the idea for the podcast. It's just you guys doing the thing. Like our first, I don't know, 15, 18 episodes, there's no guest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just me and Dave going, dude. About Aerosmith, about whatever, And,
yeah, I was checking out, actually today on my drive from work, I was checking out, I wanted to hear your first podcast. So
wow.
I checked out, I went back and found the first ones, and
Wow.
I think you were talking about live albums and.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like favorite live albums, but it was like, what live albums, let's talk about live albums and how they rate, and
Mm-hmm.
what is it about? Yeah, I was a total nerd out on all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was fun. And at that time, I want to say Dave was using, using a snowball mic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a USB
I
snowball
think so. Mm-hmm.
mic. Yeah, and those actually, you can get those to sound pretty good. And then like a couple weeks later, he had some different mic and a different mic stand. we're trying to not spend any money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Money we don't have to get the thing going.
Yeah.
I pretty much had everything already. This is just an SM58. I mean, I have an SM. I have a kick. You have a good mic. I have an SM. It's right there.
Mm-hmm.
I have.
You don't need a lot. You really don't.
You don't. No,
Mm-mm.
you don't. You need Ethernet. You can use Wi-Fi.
I use Wi-Fi.
Dude, we decided that with Wi-Fi, just like we'd be like, man, and then I love the part when it goes blah. Dave, are you there? Dave, where'd you go? Dave, where'd you go?
Yeah.
And that was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, that sucks.
Our first 10, 15 episodes, Jared was off screen at home. We were all at home, off screen, like recording us, like third party recording.
Okay.
Hard drive. He had all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then there were all of a sudden there was like, well, yeah, we have we're gonna we I think we even had our first couple of guests with Jared, at home, sneaking in, had just turned his screen off, recording everything.
Mm.
Well, it got to be where we were gonna, have so and so on, and Jared was unavailable. He's gonna be out of the country or something. And he's like, "But here's how you do it. You got a hard drive? Yeah, I got it. Yeah, yeah. Here's what you do." And he just told me, and I was like, "So now I just record everything, and he does all the editing."
Does he? That's nice. That's nice. You don't have to do that.
No, I don't. I can, but I
Mm.
don't have to.
Mhm.
And he's really good at it. He has a lot of experience, so
It sounds
it's
like he
easier.
loves to do that kind of thing.
Oh, dude, he's
Yeah.
he works for some company that does like presentations,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a millions of dollar presentation. Like, I wouldn't call it PowerPoint presentations, but
Yeah, I got
basically,
you.
yeah, he's for like large companies hire the company he works for to do like the turbotrons, and there's fiber optic cable
Jeez.
everywhere. And
Yeah.
so his job, he's got a radio and a golf cart, and he's buzzing around making sure the riggers are hoisting this stuff up right. You can't use these, da da da. He has to double. He's good at
Yeah.
his
He
job.
knows it.
Yeah, he's he had to. He doesn't have a college degree, and I feel like it would help. It would
Ah,
help for a job like that. You know what I mean?
sounds like he's doing pretty good though.
Yeah, he's doing good, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that he decided that, hey, that nerd shit you guys have going on, we should do something with that. It would be fun. You'll see. You'll
Yeah.
dig it. You'll get addicted to it. And he was right.
Now, do you choose your guests or does he choose them? And how do you pick who you want on your show?
I love that question because no one seems to have any quandary about it. They just
Mhm.
think I'm calling up, you know, Frank Bello from Anthrax. Dude, will you be on my podcast, bro?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. It doesn't work like that.
no, it's not like that. So people like Frank and Charlie from Anthrax, as well as many others. David is a journalist, so
Mm.
he does show reviews and record reviews, and if someone's starting a tour and they're coming to San Antonio, to play, or even Austin to play on for their date, he'll do a column. He'll do a story on them. Hey, Judas Priest is coming to town, and I spoke with Rob Halford, and blah 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 blah
Mhm.
blah. He's interviewed Rob Halford like 10 times.
Awesome.
Ozzy, David Bowie. It goes on and on and on. He's interviewed idols.
Yeah.
Eddie Van Halen. It's crazy. He's been doing it a long time. Whether he's made any money at it, but he works for a newspaper. He was working for the Austin Statesman. The San Antonio Current is who he usually will get hired to do a piece for.
Okay.
I believe that he does it on Zoom now and just like transcribes it for the article. But yeah, man, he's a journalist, so long story sorry, that was
Yeah.
long.
No worries.
He has he's on a lot of people's a lot of publicists list. San Antonio Current, David Glessner, journalist,
Mhm.
music journalist, da 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 da. And he's in the Bible, let's just
Mhm.
call it.
Mhm.
So he gets to, he usually gets free tickets and reviews the show, or gets a call from Rob Halford.
So he's got it in.
Hi Dave, it's Rob. Yeah, that's terrible.
You
Rob
haven't
Halford.
had. Yeah, that wasn't a very good, Rob.
It's not a very good Rob Halford. I need to work on that because he's my guy. You know
Yeah, I
that,
know.
as you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to get Rob on your show.
I know his publicist, but I don't think that he does just any old podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm building the wall because I know that if Dave calls one day and goes, dude, got a surprise for you. You promise me not to freak out. And then I'm just going to know that it's Rob Halford. I
Yeah.
got Rob on that. We got 30 minutes and it's tomorrow, you know, and Rob will be there and I'll just be like,
You just
I've toured with Judas Priest. I've been, you
yeah,
know,
you've
this
met him
close.
before. You've
I've
talked to
been,
him before. We
yeah,
talked
yeah.
about this.
I've been this close to him, you know, I don't know, 10 times,
Yeah.
if not just across the room from him,
Yeah.
you know, 50 times because we did the Painkiller tour. But what I'm getting at is, you know, you're not just because you tour with someone, you're not friends with them. So
Right.
I was actually shocked that in Confess, he even mentioned all of the bands that were on Operation Rock and Roll in '91. When it said, yeah, we were on the road with Dangerous Toys and blah. Rob Halford said the name of my band. Anyway,
I love it that you're such a fan and can
I
still
can't
get
not
that.
I can't not be, yeah, you know, hanging out with Rob, whatever. Can you pass the salt?
Yeah.
That's not that's not, you know, the thing is I realize, and I had to learn this. I realized that that is not uh like I feel like I was fairly calm around Wolf Hoffman. And dude, Wolf Hoffman is a king.
Mm-hmm.
The dude is badass, you know. And I feel like I was not fanboy around him. When I needed something, I could call him, you know, like let's say we were at the hotel and I would just if I needed something, I just called him. Or he would call me.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's talk about this thing and blah, 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 blah. What, you know, whatever we were gonna we were gonna do for the show that night or where we're gonna meet or whatever. But he was very easy to talk to. Uh as to where I don't know if I would be that way with Rob Halford, but they're both equal to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's, you know, D. Snyder, I would be like, you know what I mean? But D.
Yeah.
Snyder is badass. He's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I feel like those guys, those are, you know, it's not always going to be where I'm working with these guys to, like Wolf, I was at work. I was
Sure.
part of a
You're
production
professional. Mm-hmm.
team. Yeah, yeah. But if I'm just like hanging out with Rob Halford, you know, it's like I don't even know what to ask him.
Yeah.
So I better figure that out in case Dave calls.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I
but
bet
yeah.
you'll get them on your show before I get them.
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe because of the ace up my sleeve having Metal Dave because he's a journalist and he's in, you
Mm.
know, he's in contact with these publicists. Today we booked I guess it's okay to say, but today we booked, if not, sorry Dave. He got us Robin McCauley. You know who that is?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He's got a new record coming out. It's a new solo record. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
would love to talk to Robin McCauley. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we had Graham Bonnet on the show, and that was fucking awesome. And I was fine. I didn't fanboy out on him at all. I mean, I did a little bit, but I didn't.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me anyway, like when I get some guests, some bigger guests that I mean, because I've been a fan like you since I was a kid, So talking to some of these guys now, you're like, you would have never thought you'd be talking to people, right?
Sure.
So leading up to it, you get that kind of like before you get on stage, you get that little feeling. But then once you're in the conversation, you're all right.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. You know, your first day of school. You know,
Yeah.
or who's this guy? You're defensive, or you don't. Usually, I'm not defensive when I'm talking to another artist. I'm interested in them, especially if I'm a mega fan.
Yeah.
But it's the same kind of jitter. First
Mhm.
day of school, kind of, who are these people? What are they going to say?
Mhm.
Oh my God, So, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, good, man. So, okay. So what do you have planned for your podcast? Because just from my experience, I started this as fun and I keep it fun. That's what I try
Oh
to
my
do. I
God,
don't.
that's the number one rule.
Yeah, yeah. So, but with that being said, things happen, right? You get bigger and bigger, right? With things. So, what do you guys have planned with Talk Louder, or are you just having fun and see what happens?
Our only goal now, well, it's not even a goal, but we like to have guests who the guests. This is an interesting sort of. I haven't really patched this thought all the way. I haven't thought it all the way through. But it turns out, it seems apparent that Talk Louder likes to get the guests, plural, that Blabbermouth likes to talk about.
Hmm.
Because when that happens, we get bigger.
Yeah,
Our
of
numbers go
course.
crazy. Right. All because Blabbermouth is, everyone's favorite sort of, Blabbermouth picked it up. Oh shit, and you go
Hmm.
see what they say about it because they always add stuff. Now the thing is they're just a copy paste site, and then they'll write some stuff to it and make
Yeah.
it their own. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But sometimes they'll like dirt. So if somebody says one little thing, they'll go, "Oh, so and so said that the reason they don't like blah 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 anymore is da 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 da," and it would be on my show.
Hmm.
Well, that still creates numbers.
Hmm.
And that makes me feel like it's a little dirty. Hey, wait a minute. Well, they're not really taking that out of context at all, because there's some hair on the statement they said, but it's not a complete like poke a hole in your balloon.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that makes Blabbermouth look dirty, not necessarily me. Or
Yeah. I
even the
don't think it.
artist if they even if you really go back and check it out.
Hmm.
Like Todd Latore, we had him on there, and that was a great episode. He hung out for like 3 hours.
Oh, geez, that's long. That's a long time.
Yeah, and you know what, he was great.
Hmm.
He was great, and he got opinionated, and he said a lot of things, and of course Blabbermouth picked it up. And I love it when the artist has something to say that's not just like, "Hey, we're coming to your town. We'll see you there.
Yeah.
Buy the new record." When they get like personal and like,
That's the best
show.
part. It's when you start getting personal.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But it was still related to, because it was, because it's an artist, it's still related to music because
Hmm.
it's who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot that I like about it. It's hard for me to think right now of what I don't like about it. Other than when we've taken time out and people don't show up. That's only happened a few times.
It happens. Yeah.
Last minute,
Hmm.
sometimes. Last minute, you have no control.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. We're going to in March. We're going to the Rockin' Pod
Hmm.
in Nashville, and that was something that happened through an acquaintance, a guy named Tyson Leslie. Do you know
Hmm.
Tyson?
I don't know him personally, but I know
You know
I
who
know
that
of him.
is?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And I think that it was his idea to throw Talk Louder in the mix on that. So I mean, I can't even believe we got invited to do that.
Hmm.
Uh,
You gonna do a live show there, or are you just
yeah,
gonna go?
yeah, we're gonna take
Okay.
this rig. We're gonna take my rig, and they have someone who puts together an itinerary for you. Like at noon, you have
Yeah.
JJ French, and at 1 you have Snake
Whoever.
Zabo,
Hmm.
and at whatever it is. I don't think those guys are going to be there.
Okay.
But the point is they have a liaison that sets all that up for you.
Hmm.
But they also schedule, so it's kind of like this, that me and Dave will be on a main stage. Like they'll have a main stage and then there's booths, right? And we're going
Hmm.
to have a booth and people will stop by and buy a
Hmm.
t-shirt or watch us do what we do right there over the table. There's someone sitting there and we're doing a little chit chat for 30 minutes with Ron Keel or
Yeah.
somebody, right?
Hmm.
And they get to watch us, do it. That I think that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And then we get to hard drive it, and then once we get home back to Texas, we have all this footage for Jared to edit.
Yeah.
We're probably going to get five, 6 episodes at least.
Yeah. Gonna have a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So they do have a main stage that it turns out, me and Dave just show up, and then they have a guest come up and we do it, and they interview us. Somebody interviews us, I think, and talks about our podcast, but we get to do a live one on a main stage.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That'd be a blast.
Yeah, and they're going to film that and basically hand us a thumb drive. Here's your show or whatever. They'll drop box it to us or whatever, and we can edit that down and put our tag in front of it and
that's cool.
Post produce it.
So
I think podcasting is so fucking nerdy. Oh my God, it's so
it's all right though. You can be nerdy.
No, I'm super nerd.
It's nothing wrong with being a nerd.
But I'm not very techie. I mean, I had some learning curves that me and Dave, especially Dave.
Oh yeah.
It was really weird. Yeah. He doesn't like to hold the microphone. He's getting better, but it's honest. If he had to hold it, it would, you know what I mean? It would.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was thinking about,
Well, you better teach him because he might have to hold it at Rockin' Pod.
He'll figure it out. He'll figure it out. Because here's the deal. It's like, you got to wear headphones, Dave. You got to put some kind of earbuds in, because if you can't, if you don't hear yourself, if you're doing this and that, you have to, if you hear yourself, that means it's being recorded.
Good. Yeah.
If you can't hear yourself, Houston, we have a problem. I think that it's a great idea to like have this sort of festival for music podcasting, because you can kind of like, it's like the KISS convention, you can nerd out on stuff and see artists play.
It'll be a blast.
Another extension of that. It's a good. I'd never heard of such a thing, but
yeah, they've been doing it for a while, I think.
Yeah, I think 6 or 7 annual.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome. So if people want to check out the podcast, it's Talk Louder Podcast. They can find it on YouTube. You have a website, I believe it's talklouderpodcast.com.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it is available on the normal audio podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all those.
That is correct.
Awesome.
And I feel like this way, like the way that, this is, what do you think? Do you think that this is a more fun way for people to enjoy a podcast? Visual? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I find myself watching, well, don't take this wrong way, but when I'm driving, I'll put a video podcast on, put my phone over there, and of course I got to watch the road, but I'm still listening to it, and every now and then at a stoplight or something, I'll watch it. So yeah, I think the video podcast is definitely the more enjoyable for me.
I think you are correct. I think there's a lot of people that are Spotify people,
mm-hmm.
and I am not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think it's great for the Spotify people to just be able to, because they can, as soon as there's a new one, it just pops up. If they subscribe, it just pops up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really great. But the visual thing is like, me and Dave have these crazy collectibles behind us.
Yeah, I saw that.
Album
I saw
covers
that.
and posters and tapes, and it's kind of like dude, you're 60 and you still live in your mom's basement. It's that whole joke, and it's like, no, but I want it to look like that, so you'll say that.
Yeah. No, I love your background. What is it? Cassette tapes and everything back there?
Well, I have vinyl, I have CDs, I have cassettes, literally I'm touching a Flying V right now. So it's dude, it's crazy.
All right, man. Well, listen, Jason, it's been a blast. Thanks again.
Super fun hanging out with you, Joe. Thank you for wanting
Yeah,
to
man.
do this again.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, we'll be in touch. Okay.
Sounds great.
All right.